One of my top 5 all-time favorite arcade games, Joust. Reminds me of the old days of Shakey's Pizza playing this with my uncle. I never knew, though, that there was a Joust Pinball. And I vaguely remember Joust II, Survival of the Fittest. Finding out about these little tidbits on this Xbox game, Midway Arcade Treasures.
Compared to now, we're working with bubble gum and rubber bands and and hot glue. Essentially, the memory in the game was, I believe, 96K, which is just nothing. Now, I mean, we waste that on title screens nowadays. So the real challenge in designing games back then was, how do you do something interesting with some nice animation, and how do you do it in such a small package, because that doesn't allow us a lot of variety. There was a bug when we first were working on the flying and the running of the ostrich, and we had neglected to consider is when the ostrich lands on some of the floating cliffs, of how's that handled. When does the animation call the running leg and then the non-leg flap sequence? So there's a lot of situations where the ostrich the cliff is floating and the ostrich will be flying, but he's not high enough to show his legs, so it'll just do a belly flop across the cliff. And on the one side of the screen, we had two cliffs that were staggered. And when he does a belly flop, there's a little hole of a couple of pixels, and it allows the bird to squeeze out between the two cliffs. And we're racking our brains trying to fix it, but we were so embroiled in playing Cutthroat, where we would try to kill each other when we were playing and testing the game, and it became a really fun trick to do, is that someone would be hovering underneath these cliffs, and then you'd deliberately do the belly flop and squirt out and kill the guy underneath. And so we decided to keep that in there and call it a feature. One thing that was a real frustration for me was I like to pride myself in thinking of all the little details. And when Joust originally came out, there was a nasty pterodactyl bug where a player could stand on the middle edge and just hold his position, and the mouth of the pterodactyl would hit right into the lance, and you could play the game almost infinitum. I never could. I'm just too slow, I guess. But a lot of really good players, when we first sent the game out to manufacture, could do that, and that really ticked me off, because I had taken every character. I had a grid paper of how big all the characters were. I mapped out what the intelligence, the flight patterns of all the birds and the pterodactyls were, so that nothing like that would happen, where there'd be an infinite bug like that, where you could just keep playing the game forever and ever. Joust the movie is it's a little hobby I've been working on. I guess the transition is, I started off as a toy designer, then I became a video game designer, and then I would like to become a movie designer. So I had always thought that Joust would make a great movie. The technology was never there for what I had in mind, but now it's more than there. Right now, the old video games are being gobbled up by collectors and in people's basements, but the prices are just starting to rise on some of them. You can still get a lot of old games pretty cheaply. I've been looking for an original Joust cocktail table, of which there are there was, even though Joust did really well, we only made about 500 cocktail tables, and it was really too bad because it was one of the originals. It was the only two-player simultaneous side-by-side cocktail game that was made, so it had a unique look because at the time most all the other cocktail tables like Pac-Man and Ms. Pac-Man, one person sat on one side, the other sat on the other opposite, and then the screen flipped around. Well, this played just like the regular Joust because you're both sitting next to each other, and the screen didn't flip. So I'd always regretted that I didn't get one for myself, so I finally found one and did some trades here and there, and I paid about $500 for it. But I would say they're probably worth more than that now.
I think a movie in 2023 and beyond would definitely work for Joust. Surely you guys have seen Joust sometime. Such a great game. Just do one wave here. This ledge here is where he was talking about the belly flop. This little section right there. I can't do it though, but that's where it is. Not so popular is this game, Joust II, Survival of the Fittest, where you actually play as an ostrich as well as a Pegasus. You start out as an ostrich and you can always, on a dime, flip to a Pegasus.
Joust 2 is the trivia question of all time, I guess, was that there actually was a sequel. We tried to resurrect Joust in 1985. Didn't make many games, but this is at a time when very few video games were selling, and there wasn't much of a video department anymore, and he had met with some of management. We were trying to figure out, well, gee, let's try another game, and so we were considering resurrecting and doing a sequel of either Robotron or Joust, and they decided to let's give Joust a crack at it.
A lot of neat information about these two games now. Let's go through quickly all of the games that are on this collection. Never played 720 Degrees. Blaster. Classic. Remember that from the Showbiz Pizza days. Another one, and I have a separate video about Rampage. This was great as when you could sit down and play this one. Graphics were great back in the day, 1986 or 87. Spy Hunter, another classic one. Well, all these are classic, right? Super Sprint was fantastic. This one you could play 3 players. They all had their steering wheels. Many variations on Root Beer Tapper. Tubin. And Vindicators. Good stuff. well, that'll close this video out. Thanks for watching, and hopefully you can check out some of the other videos, and definitely hit that subscribe button. I'll be doing a lot more of the retro stuff. So thanks for watching.